Hi everyone and welcome into Burner, where today we will be making the stock which we're using to make Hakata style tonkotsu ramen in our upcoming video. It will get very jiggly. The thick creamy broth you know as tonkotsu was, according to the legend, invented by accident. In Kurume, a town in the Fukuoka prefecture on the island of Kyushu, a shop called Nanking Senryo had popularized a broth which was a mixture of all the stuff that was the rage in Tokyo, which we will get to next week, and a local dish called Nagasaki Shampon. A man by the name of Katsumi Sugino decided to make his own version of this for his stall called Sankyu. One day he was making the broth as per usual, but Sugino-san got distracted, forgot about his stock and left it on much too long. This might be a myth though, as versions differ. Some say it was his mother. When they realized this, the broth had reduced a lot. It had become very thick and very white. However, when tasting the broth, everybody loved the result. This thick creamy stock became the basis of what we call tonkotsu ramen today. These days, unlike Nanking Senryo, Sankyu is no longer around. We wonder why. Whatever it was, we have to start with bones. Once we have these, we're going to soak them in clean water overnight. Make sure the bones are completely submerged. The next morning, pour off the dirty water and place the bones in a large pot. Cover with fresh water, bring to a boil over high heat and let it boil for 3 to 5 minutes. Then drain the bones and rinse them off with cool water. Leave the meat on, but try to get rid of blood patches and things like that using something like a skewer or a metal chopstick. After this, all the hard work is pretty much done. Now put all bones back in the pot which you've cleaned and cover them with plenty of water. Just before heating it up, make a mental note of where the water level is. We are using the level of our handles for this. Optionally, you can add in a small dash of apple cider vinegar. Now bring your water to a boil, then reduce the heat to medium, so it stays at a steady but rolling boil. Scoop off the small amounts of scum that will still float up. Now for the first 4 hours we're going to keep the stock topped up with boiling water. This is why we made this mental note at the start. After 4 hours, stop adding fresh water. We now want the level to drop and the broth to get thicker. It's now important to stir the stock often, as the lower the level gets, the easier it burns. After about 2 hours in the thickening stage, we're adding in our aromatics. We are adding in some spring onion, a whole bulb of garlic, an apple, and most importantly, a sheet of kombu. Most aromatics are up to personal taste, but the kombu is pretty important. Please let us know in the comments which other aromatics you like to add. Once these have been added, let it boil for another 2 hours. After 2 hours, strain all the liquid into a different pot, discarding all the bones and aromatics, moving the stock to a clean pot in the process. Put the clean pot with the stock back on the heat and bring it to an intense rolling boil for about 5 minutes. Use an immersion blender to blend this. This will aerate the stock and spread around all the fat and collagen evenly. This step isn't necessary, but it will ensure that your stock gets that deep white color. With one jar, we skipped this final step. Can you spot the difference? It's subtle, but it's there. Now we're freezing half of the stock and jarring the other half, like we usually do. They will stay fine in the fridge for a couple of days. If you followed all steps correctly, the next day your stock will be very thick. You should probably have a spoon ready when you want to use it. We hope you enjoyed this video on how to make the broth for tonkotsu ramen. If you did, it would be amazing if you could leave us a like or a comment. If you're new here, we would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. That way you're also sure not to miss next week's video where we actually make the full dish. Thank you very much for watching.